Okay. Interview of Mr. Frank J. Castronovo on 25 May 2001, Freeport Armory, Long Island, New York. Interviewer is Lieutenant Colonel Robert von Hassel. Videographer is Mr. Wayne Clark. Mr. Castronovo, tell me about where and when you were born.
Okay, I was born in the Bronx.
When?
November 29, 1918.
Okay. Tell me about your family, your mother, your father.
Well, my father I can't tell you about because at that time in 1918 when I was born, I don't know if you ever read about it, there was an epidemic going around, what they called the Spanish influenza. People were dying, like my mom told me, like flies. They couldn't bury them fast enough. People were buried, laying on the side waiting to be buried. That's how bad it was. This I know from my mom. And my father, when I was born, was 8 days after I was born, he died. I never even got to see him. The only thing my mother said, he happened to touch my finger as a baby. That's the only thing I know about him. But my mom, she was the greatest person in the world.
Tell me about
She raised 6 kids without having a husband after that, working in factories and hat factories and buttons and all that stuff, because there was depression. Now, in 1929, the stock market fell, and I was like, what, 1980, when I was 10 years old, maybe 9, 10 years old, we hit the depression. And I grew up in depression from 1929 to almost the end of 1939, which 1940, that's why I went into the Army. And we grew up, like I say, people were helping one another. We helped one another. We had nothing, but whatever we had, we shared. We didn't have no problems. At that time, there wasn't what there is today of worrying about drugs and things like that. It was, everything was help one another. If you had a dime, you were lucky. If you had a quarter, you were rich. If you had a dollar, you could yell it out. You could do whatever you want. Because Coca-Cola was a nickel, White Castle was 6 for a quarter, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was beautiful. The milkman came around with the wagon and just stole the milk, whatever you could, a bottle of milk, and you get it. It was really, really nice, but we helped one another. We stuck together right through the Depression. We had nothing, but whatever little we had, we shared, and it was beautiful. I remember going shopping with my mom in the Bronx, where they called it out area. And boy, for $10, we had to be about 3 shopping bags full of food. That's the truth. Meat, groceries, vegetables, you name it. Gallons of oil, but we ate good. I think we ate better then than we do today, believe it or not. Well, anyway, that was up till then. Now, come to 1939, my mom was hit with cancer. And I lost her after about a year. She had cancer, and I lost her, and I lost the best part of my life, because she was a great mom. What she did, today, these women should know what it was then. No refrigerators, no washing machines, no laundromats. Everything my mother did was by hand on the tub. Wash and clean. She kept us clean as a whistle. She did that, cook, clean, and feed all us kids. Well, anyway, there was nothing around. I was 19, going on 20. I don't think I was 20 yet. My brothers were all married, and like I said, my mom died, the home broke up. One of my brothers took me with him in Pennsylvania. He was living in Pennsylvania, my brother Al. Took me to Pennsylvania and put me to work in a factory just to make a few dollars, you know, but I didn't like it. And furthermore, he had 2 children, my 2 niece and nephew. He had 2 children, and I felt I was in a way, you know. They were just married, had their family. I was in a way. I said, you know what, let me enlist in the Army, because I'll never get this opportunity again to travel. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see what the rest of the world was about. And I did the right thing. I was glad I did it. I'm not sorry for the war, yeah, but I'm not sorry for what I did. So I enlisted in the Army, and that was July 11, 1940. And when I enlisted in the Army, like I said before, they asked us, where do you want to go? Hawaii, Panama, or the Philippines? Well, I remembered all about the hula girls. I said, I'll take Hawaii, you know, which I did. And I'm glad I did, because the Philippines was, well, you know what happened there with Wayne Griff. That I don't have to tell you. Panama, I was there for about 2 months when we on our way to Hawaii, and it's terrible there. So I did that. So when I enlisted, they told me come back the next morning, and I remember the name. I went to Fort Slocum, it's in Yonkers. That's where I went, Fort Slocum. I stayed there until they were ready to ship us to California. While I was there, waiting for the ship to come in, they sent us, it was in the summertime, they sent us to camp up in New York, way up, just before the Canada border, on maneuvers, just to have something to do while we're waiting for our ship to come in.
Camp Drum?
Camp Drum. I'm sorry, Camp Upton was in New York. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got that mixed up. You gotta forgive me a little.
It's okay.
You know, all right, so anyway, we went there, we finished the maneuvers, we come back to Fort Slocum, and our ship finally come in, and they shipped us to California. We went to California, spent a couple of months or so there, waiting for our ship to take us to Hawaii. And while we were in California, we were doing KP duty and all different kind of duty. As a matter of fact, Alcatraz was right there on, what do they call it, Angels Island or something, in California. I forget the name of the island. Alcatraz was there.
And you were on an island near Alcatraz?
Right. And as a matter of fact...
Treasure Island?
No, they didn't call it Treasure Island.
Paradise Island?
Huh?
Treasure Island, Paradise Island?
No, it wasn't that name there. Maybe it's in my discharge. Anyway, to get to our island, you had to pass Alcatraz. As a matter of fact, we used to unload merchandise or food or whatever it was, supplies, to Alcatraz. So we had to stop our ship and unload and help to unload. We didn't go inside. We just unloaded all this supply. Just keep us busy. Well, anyway, finally, our ship come in, and we were ready to sail for Hawaii. Matter of fact, the picture I had here, here it is here. See that picture there? I was on the ship there. We were waiting to ship out. That was the day we were going to ship out to get to Hawaii. Well, finally we did. We shipped out in November, I forget the date. It's on my discharge, and we got to Hawaii. And I was in Hawaii, enjoying it. Took my basic training, went through all the rigmarole you go through, settled down, and I was there from November of 1940 until they hit us December 7, 1941. I had 6 months to go, and I would have been shipped back to the States. You had to do 2 years of foreign service, come back to the States. Well, anyway, then they bombed us. That was the end of that. And then when I told you, you want me to tell you again about Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. Well, here we go. It was Sunday morning, December 7th, 1941. Beautiful day in Hawaii. If anybody was there, you know, the climate is beautiful. It's a beautiful morning. Now, I want to tell it like it is. My quarters was next to the kitchen, and I love breakfast. I don't want to miss breakfast. And a Sunday morning, if you're not assigned to any special duty, you can sleep all day if you want, but not me. I could smell the bacon and the pancakes and the sausage and the coffee. I said, hey, wait, I'm getting up. I'm not missing breakfast. Once you miss it, it's all over. I said, no, that was the best meal of the day. I jumped up, grabbed my toilet articles, went upstairs to the 3rd floor. The barracks, Schofield Barracks was 3 stories high. Took my toilet article, my towel, ran upstairs to take a shower, brushed my teeth, come down quick and have breakfast. As I went upstairs and I started to take a shower, brush my teeth, I heard this roar of planes coming over. And it kept getting louder and louder and closer and closer. All of a sudden, it was right on me. I said, wow. I dropped everything. I ran to the window just like that. And at that time, Schofield Barracks in Hawaii was one island. There were no buildings, no roads, no nothing. And you're just right from here to maybe a mile or 2 away to Wheeler Field. And that's where the first bombs were dropped, and I seen them right then and there. They hit Wheeler Field. They hit all the planes were down, the hangars, all the men from the Air Force were running out every which way, trying to get into planes, trying to get out of the way, trying to do something, because you couldn't just stay there. You had to move them, get yourself around. From there, they went right into Pearl Harbor and dropped the bombs. The next wave came over. I think there were 4 at a breath, and the next wave, and the next wave. Well, anyway, within, I don't know how long, a half hour, three-quarters an hour, whatever it was, there was nothing. From the beautiful morning, there was nothing but smoke, flames, explosions, sirens, just like you can't believe what happened. That's in my mind. I'll never leave that. And what was the worst part of it was those gallant men, those sailors, that Navy, the courage they had. They didn't have time to put their shoes on. Whoever could try to get to the top of the deck to man the guns, but it was too late. They tried anyway. And they hit it exactly 5 minutes stayed. I got up at 10th day. Within 5 minutes, all this happened. In 5 minutes stayed, when the men were getting ready to go on leave, because if you're not on duty Sunday morning, you could go to town and go play golf and tennis and basketball and whatever you want to do, you know, and visit the troops. You know, it's your day. And picnic and get your feet on a solid ground. And some of them were getting up to go to the 8 o'clock mass, but they timed it right. At 5 minutes stay, when all this was supposed to happen, bang, they destroyed them. Most of the men, they weren't killed, they were murdered in their sleep. That's how I address it. They weren't killed, they were murdered in their sleep. Cold-blooded murder. And I shall never forget it. Because it's 60 years ago, and it's still right here. And the rest of the survivors, I have to live with it day in and day out, because I can't forget it, and I tell you, I don't even want to forget it, because it was a dirty sneak attack, not a war, a sneak attack. Well, anyway, after that was all cleared up, within the next day anyway, we had the alert call. Everybody, artillery, field artillery went in one position, coast artillery went to headquarters, this and that. Everybody had positions. The infantry, which was myself and the other 3 infantry, 19th, 21st, and 35th, our job was to bob wire the beaches from one end to the other. It took a couple of months, bob wiring every day along, and we expected an invasion, see. We expected the Japanese come back to invade us, which if they did, they had a good shot at us, because we only had a peacetime army, and we didn't have all the weapons we needed. But anyway, we had position, like say, maybe every 100 feet with machine gun position. I had my position, the next one, the next, on and on, right there, all over the island, expecting an invasion. Well, that never happened. But what they did, after we secured the island, prepared it for an invasion, they sent all new troops to the island, and we were shipped in different islands. Some went to Bougainville, some went to New Caledonia, whatever, Guadalcanal, New Hebrides, New Guinea. We shipped them. My outfit, we wound up in Guadalcanal, in the Solomon Islands. And it took us from Hawaii to get to the Solomon Islands, which we had to cross the equator. It took us 23 days to get there at that time. I'm not saying what it is today. It took us 23 days to get there, because every 8 minutes we had to change course. So on account of the submarine, we couldn't just go on a straight course. Yeah, every 8 minutes they changed course, so it took us 23 days to get there. Well, we got to Guadalcanal, and in Guadalcanal, we had our hands full with the Japanese. They were positioned, ready, willing, and waiting for us, and they really were. And in the jungles, you don't see anything. You just look and hope that you're throwing the grenades where they're supposed to be, and that's what we did. Because it wasn't man-to-man. Very seldom you've seen one come out. A couple of times we've seen one shoot out. Anyway, they had the snipers on the trees, tied to the trees, and they couldn't move. You had to be in their position, in line of fire before they fire, because if they moved, anything that moves in the jungle during the day, everything is still. There's nowhere, the air is still. Nothing moves unless it was a rain, a hurricane, but we didn't have that. Everything is still. And anything that moves, you know somebody's there. Sometimes you even hear voices, which we did. And that's when the grenades keep going, and the mortar, we had mortar guns at that time, and mounted, you know, with mortar. Sure, they were good. That's all we had. And we had the BARs and flamethrowers. That's all we had at that time. Because, number one, we weren't trained for jungle warfare. We didn't train. We were trained for, all the time I was in Hawaii, we were trained for open warfare. We never even trained for jungle warfare. We had nothing. We knew nothing. We learned the hard way. When we got there, we learned what you had to do. do or die, you understand? That's the way it was, and that was great, because I tell you one thing, the Japanese had so much experience with jungle warfare with the Chinese and so on. They were seasoned troops. They knew just how to handle it. They were great. But you know something? The Americans don't take them long to learn and go right. I'm telling you, I'm proud of our country and our men at that time. They didn't take us long to learn how to fight in the jungles. We had the Fiji natives that came to help us out. How to climb these, we don't call them mountains, we call them hills. We were on Hill 27, and every night it rains up in them hills, believe me, and all the slush is all coming down. It took us like a day to get from the bottom to the top. Half of the guys couldn't make it because you had 4-field packs, you had your belt with the ammunition, your rifle, and boy, you had to crawl on your stomach. But the Fiji natives helped us and leaded us how to climb, get to the top of them things. And we did. We finally got to the top. Then when we got to the top, it was going in, right into the jungles, keep going. Well, anyway, make a long story short, it took us, I don't know, between 5 and 7 months before we could secure the island. My company, we lost, I'm not sure, I don't remember, between 7, 8, 9, 10 men killed in my company. And about 18, 25 wounded, just my company alone. And like I was telling the gentleman over there before, I was telling him, 3 of my buddies, Nick, Denman, and Reynolds, were machine gunned right next to me. I was a target because, like I said before, Nick says to me, hey Frank, go down, get some more water for our canteens, and bring more grenades. We're running out of them. I said, okay, Nick, sure, why not? We're on our stomach. I get up. As I got up, sprayed us. Don't ask me how I didn't get hit, because I don't know. Till this day, I still don't know how I didn't get hit. But them 3 were machine gunned. And they all died. Matter of fact, I came home and I went and visited a couple of the parents, so I knew where they lived. And they were wiped out. And we went on from there, and like I say, within 5 to 7 months, we finally secured the island. And I held out long, and I was pretty strong and healthy because I lived with the natives. The natives loved us. They hated the Japanese because they took their food, they raped their women, and they were so glad to have us. They really loved us. They really did, and I respect that because I was with them. I had one of the natives, when we secured the island pretty much, I used to go what I call shopping with him. I make my family laugh when I tell them that. What do you mean by shopping? I'll tell you what I mean. I ate the vegetables they ate. I ate all the stuff that they ate because I knew they knew what to eat. And I love vegetable plus food because we had none. We had a GI rationing because there's no refrigeration. There's nothing you keep. It ain't that the Army didn't want to give it to us. If they brought it there, you'd have to eat it right then and there because in the jungles, 160 degrees, whatever it is, you can't keep food. So I ate the vegetables, I ate the fruit, I ate coconuts like crazy, and all that stuff. Fish, there was no problem with fish. You throw one hand grenade in there, oh, the water's beautiful there. Oh, Guadalcanal, I tell you, it is beautiful. The fish come right up to the top. One guy's making a fire, and the other guys are just throwing it like that. And that helped me because I believe in that because I love fresh food. And I still do, you know. And I love that food. And that helped me to have the vitamins that I needed. So I held out much longer than a lot of others. And finally, it didn't work. I got malaria, very bad. I got hit with malaria, and I mean hit with malaria. And I was in bed with about 5 blankets on me, with 108 fever, shaking like a leaf. My mind was clear, it didn't affect your mind, but your body was paralyzed, shaking like a leaf. Well, make a long story short, when they were ready and they had time, they flew me to New Hebrides. In New Hebrides, it was a hospital there, and it was much better than what we had in Guadalcanal. We didn't have much, you know, just temporarily, something to help you out, to hold you off. And in New Hebrides, Mrs. Roosevelt, the president's wife, the first lady, came to overseas to visit the troops. And like I said, and I had lunch with her in one of the hospitals in New Hebrides, which I said right across the way from her. And she was a pleasure to talk to, like I told you before. She was a pleasure. She interviewed me. I talked to her just like I'm talking to you. She had a very good sense of humor. And she says to me, "Soldier, I still remember, what can I do for you?" I looked at her. I said, "Well," she says, "could I mail some letters for you?" Because everything was censored then. I said, "Well, if you put me in the envelope, I'll go with it." And she laughed. She was very good. She was funny. She had a good sense of humor. And anyway, make a long story short, from New Hebrides, I still was getting hit with malaria. They sent me to a better hospital, finally, to Auckland, New Zealand. And I was in Auckland, New Zealand for a couple of good months, which is a beautiful country, that Auckland. Nice. I love that country. It was a nice country. And I stood there for a couple of months or so, whatever it was. Finally, they said, I have to get back to the United States to cure this malaria. I came back to the United States. I was sent to the Tennessee Kennedy General Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. It was a big, beautiful place. And they asked for volunteers to study on malaria. And I volunteered. I had to give blood every day. They tested it. I was there almost 7 months. But the reason why I did it, I was eliminated from duty. I didn't have to give blood and go on your way. All you needed was money and have a little fun, you know. So I did it. I didn't mind, because in the meantime, I was doing something good also. And after about 7 months, they said, well, you had enough. They shipped me back to North Carolina. I went to North Carolina. I stayed there for some time. I don't remember. And from there, they finally decided they're going to finally discharge me. So from North Carolina, they shipped me back to Camp Upton, New York. And Camp Upton, I finally was discharged and come back home.
When was that, Frank?
What's that?
When was that?
When was that? I was December 12th, 1944. I had almost 5 years, and a couple of more months I had 5 years. December 12th, 1944. I finally came back to civilian life. And it was a great experience, a sorrowful experience, and something I shall live with the rest of my life. I'm 82 now, and I still could tell you what happened yesterday. Can't forget it. It's impossible. But it's okay. But the reason why I'm making this speech and volunteer to make this speech, because I love to make the speeches if I can. I made a big speech at American Legion a couple of times in a couple of schools to enlighten the people, to let them know now what I did, what they did, what my comrades did. This is my philosophy. I want the world not to forget, especially this new generation, that they should know what those men, all those sailors, all those soldiers and Marines and Iwo Jima and all the places, we sacrificed our life so we could all be here today talking to you in this beautiful country of ours. That's what we did. And not for me, like I say, I'm a survivor, but I'm speaking for them. They can't speak for you, because they could be looking down on me right now and say, hey, Frank, what's going on in this world? Is this what we sacrificed for what we got today? But anyway, that's it. And that's why I love to make these speeches whenever I get the opportunity, because I want to tell it like it is, right from my heart, whatever word I told you, so help me God, that's the truth. Every word I say, just like it happened.
Now, Frank, tell me what happened to you after the war.
Okay, after the war, like everybody else, well, as a matter of fact, just before the end of the war, a couple of months before, I married my sweetheart that we kept in touch with since I met her on the beach before I went in the Army in 1939. We kept in touch with each other, and we really fell in love through the mail, as a matter of fact, because she was only a kid. I was 19, she was only 16. I was 3 years older than my wife. We got married. I came back to the Bronx on leave. We got married in the Bronx. And then I started to raise a family. We were married. I started to raise a family. I went to work, and my first job was with the Port of New York Authority as a traffic police on the Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel. I did that for about 2 years. But at that time, there wasn't much money in it. And I was raising a family. So I left that and went into construction. I went into construction, and I spent the rest of my 30 years so in construction. And I worked there. And I made more money. And thank God, with the government, I still thank them, with the GI Bill of Rights, you had two options. Buy a home or go to college. I had a family. I said, I'll buy a home. With their help, I have my home today, and I appreciate that. Also, I still get a pension, not much, but I still get a pension from the government since I've been discharged. And I bought my home, I still have it, and I'm there like over 50 years now, and I thank the government for doing that for us. I really appreciate what they did for us. It was a great help. Without them, I could have never bought it. I had no money, I had nothing. I had to just start off in life right from the ground.
Yeah, buying the house, is that how you came to be on Long Island?
Yes, absolutely, because I was in the Bronx, and I knew of this opportunity, and my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, knew a good real estate in Long Island that was selling these homes to the GI Bill of Rights. Hey, Frank, why don't you look into it? You could get a home. You're entitled to it. You're a veteran. And they give you a GI Bill of Rights. He was smarter than I was. I said, gee, that's good. So he took me from the Bronx to Elmont, Long Island, to a real estate. And I spoke to him, and he showed me the homes. I said, hey, I'll take it. You know, sound good. All I needed was $800, which I didn't even have. But I had $500 get together, and a couple of my brothers lent me $100 here and there, and I put the $800 down. I bought a home, and I'm happy. And it was from the Bronx to there. It was sort of good. As a matter of fact, my house at that time only cost $11,000. Today, it's about $150,000. So I appreciate that. I'm really happy about that.
Did you just decide on Elmont right off the bat?
Right. Oh, it was a country then.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sure. It's, 50 years ago, Elmont was a country. To me, coming from the Bronx, I was going into the country. I even told my wife, I said, boy, I'm going to go hunting there for small game, you know, rabbits and stuff like that. It was all woods, all forest. The Hempstead Turnpike was a big farm, a rotten can farm. A big, big farm there, beautiful farm. The rest of the place, they were just starting to build. But next thing you know, they were building. Bulldozers going right through. That was 52 years ago. It was country. I said, wow, this is beautiful. I love this. I said, yeah, I'll take it. I had nothing to lose, you know, for $800, and it was a good shot. I was happy for that.
How did it feel being a city boy and now having your own home?
I felt great. I went from from rock bottom to the top. To me, I felt great. I accustomed myself to it. I loved it. I enjoyed it, and that was my life. I wanted that kind of a life. I had a beautiful family. I wound up with 6 children, my wife and I. I had 3 boys and 3 girls, and they're all on their way now, except I lost 1 boy a couple of years ago. But this is life anyway. And I had a great life. I'm happy. Now I'm trying to enjoy my golden years.
When you first moved in, were most of your neighbors veterans too?
Let's see. Timmy wasn't a veteran. No, in my block was only 2 of us that were veterans. But one of them wasn't in any war. I don't think he was in a war. But anyway, there was only 2 of us were veterans. It was me. I was really the only one there in my block. And the rest of the town, there was plenty more. Then I joined the American Legion. I belonged to the American Legion for over 12 years now. I belong to the Pearl Harbor Survivors. We have a meeting every month. We had a meeting this Sunday, once a month. And I belong to the DAV. And I keep in touch with everybody, you know, all these things. And whenever I get, like I say, I made speeches in a couple of schools already for children, and they were great. They surprised me because they asked me questions that I had to have the answers for them, because you couldn't lie, because they had you right pinned down. And they were 6th graders. And they would ask me some beautiful questions, like when I told you about the natives, they says to me, Mr. Castronovo, how could you talk to the natives? They don't understand your language. I said, hold on. Guadalcanal is controlled by England, which is true. England controls them. Now, what England used to do, they would take so many natives that had a potential, they took them to England, put them to school like regular school, graduated them, taught them the language, and they spoke better than me, because I got the accent of a New York. They have a beautiful accent. They spoke better than me. And I said, that's how I spoke to the natives. Oh, thank you. You had to be on your late. You couldn't, you know, you couldn't dilly-dally about it. It was a great experience. And like I say, I love these speeches when I get the opportunity, because I don't like to talk about it. I never do. I don't go around speaking about Pearl Harbor. Believe me, I never do. All my Legionnaires could tell you, I never speak. Only if I'm spoken to and asked a question, I'll gladly answer it. But when it comes to a speech, I have a good tape home that I made. When it comes to speech, I want to do it because I want the world that is today, the generation today, to know what them men did, not me. Like I always say, not me, them. I always speak for them. Okay?
Okay. Tell me more about your children. What do they do now?
My who? My
Your
children?
children.
Oh, one was a cop in the city. He's retired now. One was a fireman in Arizona. He settled, but he died. He was 49 years old, but he passed on. And my girls were married. My 3 girls were married. And my son, the youngest one, Alfred, is a mechanic. He's working for the city as a mechanic for the city.
What else do you remember about Elmont changing over the years?
Oh, it changed a lot.
How so?
It changed a lot. Well, the people changed. All kind of people are in there now. A lot of them are nice. I have nice people living in my block. One from Jamaica, one black, one Jamaican. I couldn't have better. I have one right next door to me, Mr. Minhouse, that comes from Pakistan, and they're beautiful people. It changed a lot with the color, maybe. That's it. But as far as people, it's still beautiful. I still love it there, and I ain't about to move. I'm still happy and satisfied there. Nobody bothers me. I get along well. I'm not the type to look for trouble anyway. I get along with everybody.
Show us some of these photographs you brought.
Okay. This here was taken about 2-3 years ago. Oh, no, I'm sorry, a few years ago. The Long Island paper wanted World War II veterans to send in a picture and a little saying about it, because they were going to put it in. This is from a newspaper, but I had it, laminated. And this was me. And this is the speech I made when I sent it. If you read it, it's a nice speech I made.
Can you read it?
Oh, well, see, I ain't got my glass, but I'll try. Let's see, okay. Frank Castronovo of Elmont is a Pearl Harbor survivor and a veteran of Guadalcanal and the Solomon Islands. He enlisted in the Army July 11, 1940, and was discharged December 12, 1944. His words say it best. I shall never forget the morning of December 7, 1941, how the Japanese sneak attacked Pearl Harbor at the 5 minutes to 8 in the morning. Those gallant men on those ships never had a chance to defend themselves. True. I will live with this memory for the rest of my life, which is true. At Guadalcanal, we battled the Japanese until we secured the island. In my company alone, 35th Infantry, Company E, we lost 9 men and about 28 were wounded. I am proud to write this in memory of my commanders. It hits me. I was proud. It's a nice saying. That's from my heart. See, whenever I speak, I never write speeches down. I want to tell it like it is. I don't want no fish story. I caught a fish that big. This is serious business, and I mean it. And I'm proud to do it for them. Whatever I do is for them.
Frank, what other pictures do we have?
Oh, then I had this pictures here. This, we have at Oyster Bay. Every year we have a memorial on December 7th. Half of the time we're freezing. It's cold there. Boy, it's cold right by the bay. And that's the picture there of my comrades, Pearl Harbor survivors. This is me right here. This is all my, which there's only a few. Every year we don't have too many left. Matter of fact, we have a big parade coming Memorial Day in Elmont. And we are the grand marshals of that parade. The Pearl Harbor survivors that I could get together, most of us, are going to march in that parade in Elmont. And it's going to be a good parade because I got them together to march there, and we are the grand marshals. They're honoring us because it's our 60th anniversary. I have more pictures. Oh, yeah, here. This is us before the war on maneuvers. It tells you where I was. Oh, Cooler Pass. We were on maneuvers there. Could you pick me out?
Just like that is fine.
Pick me out.
Which one is you?
Yeah, which one is me? Point to it.
Give me a minute here.
Come on, could you see? Who's
That
me?
one.
No, that one.
That one.
That's me. Okay?
Oh, the best looking guy there.
All right, you got to say that, right? Okay, let me show him another one here. This here, this was a beautiful picture. This was here right after Pearl Harbor. About a month or two later, we got our first leave, and we couldn't wait to get to town. And it was my friend Denman, Ruggiero, and myself. he was machine gun, he's one of the machine gun. He died of natural causes just recently. And this is me right here.
Where was that? Was that?
This was in Honolulu.
Honolulu.
Well, this was in Honolulu. We're on our way to have a little fun. There it is, see? 1942 Honolulu. That was it. I don't know.
Frank, can you explain that medal?
Yeah, oh yes. This I'm proud of. This medal was given to us at the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor from the Congress and President okayed it. But Congress suggested, you know, to give this medal only to the Pearl Harbor survivors. And I wear this at every meeting and every parade. And on there, tells you about December 7th and the words of Franklin Roosevelt. His first words was, "This day shall live in infamy." And it's inscribed in there. If you can see it, it's hard to see it. See, what this hides it. But it was described in there. You can see that's a beautiful medal.
Right there. Okay, got it.
Frank, you had it mounted.
Yes, I had it mounted. I sent away for that.
Okay, got it.
I had it mounted. I also have quite a few medals at home. I have 2 battle stars, which is Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal. I have 2 battle stars, and I have the Asiatic Pacific Medal and conspicuous medal from the state of New York. I had quite a few of them. I got them all. I got them in a big, you know, it comes in a case. I sent away for the casing, and I got them hung up on the wall.
Purple Heart?
They didn't give me the Purple Heart, which I should have, but I didn't get it. But that's okay. There's a lot of things I didn't get, but I'm satisfied. I had a good conduct medal. I got an honorable discharge. And whatever it is there hanging on a wall, I'm proud of it. Because I did my share, but they did their share more than I did.
Frank, we're going to take a break to switch tapes.
Oh, yeah? What, you want more?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Tape 2 interview with Mr. Frank J. Castronovo on 25 May, Freeport Armory. Frank, let's go back to when you first went in the Army. Basic training.
Yes,
You didn't go away to a separate basic training, right? You were trained in your unit.
that's right.
How did that work?
How did it work?
Yeah.
You just learned how to march, how to respect the flag, how to get up in the morning, and the first detail you had was, they call it the honey wagon. That's taking care of the garbage. That was your first detail after basic training. But you learned all the fundamentals of training, how to handle a gun, how to dismantle it and put it back together, all that stuff, and how to handle a machine gun and all that kind of stuff. You know, all that military stuff, all these things, how to march, how to act at parades, how to dress, how to respect your officers, how to salute them, and how to salute the proper way and all that stuff, and that was it.
Was there much of a difference in those days between the new guys and the old hands?
Well, I never seen the new guys. I just know from
But did you feel a distinction between yourself as a new recruit and some of the soldiers who had been there for a long time?
oh, well, we respected them at first, but within a month or two, you were one of them. Matter of fact, all of a sudden, I had my buddy here, my buddy there. Guys that were there already for a year, 2 years. All of a sudden, you become a family. You know, everybody knows that who comes from Pennsylvania, who comes from Carolina, Tennessee, New York. But when you come from New York, it was special because right away, you had a bad name. You were from Brooklyn. Where you come from Brooklyn? Oh, man. You had to be careful.
You got a lot of heat from coming from New York?
Yes, well, I did. I really did. I must admit it. Some were very nice, but a lot of, you see, I never realized at that time, as a young kid, 19 years old, that they would be still fighting the Civil War. I didn't believe in that. I didn't even know who General Grant and General, what's the other name? Lee. I didn't even know who they were, to tell you the truth. I never, you know, it never had an effect on me. But the Southern people, they didn't forget that. Man, they had that embedded in their mind like I have about Pearl Harbor. And you were from New York, you were a Yankee. I didn't know about that. Luckily, that I knew how to handle myself. Because there was a lot of fighting be going on, and I didn't believe it. I figured, hey, we're all GIs, we're all soldiers. Let's be fair. But some of them, not all of them, I had a lot of good buddies, but there was a few that resented you. They really did. You were just a Yankee, and that's it. You weren't a soldier, you were a Yankee. I couldn't believe that. What's wrong with these guys? You know, I didn't feel that way about it. But anyway, I learned the hard way, you know, and that was the difference. But within time, they all knew one another, and after I had a couple of little battles here and there, they respected me. And then I was respected, I was one of the boys. And then we got along good. We had all our buddies over.
Is there much of a distinction between officers and enlisted men?
No, not too much. No, they were fair. They had good officers. We had a good army. I loved the army. I really liked it. If it wasn't for the war, I tell you the truth, I think I would have stayed in there. But like I said, I had malaria. I was on the fungus infection years. I had to build myself all up. But I would have loved to, even realistic, if it wasn't for the war, and go back to Hawaii. I would have stayed. I loved it. It was a good life because it was my kind of life. Athletic, training all the time, and I wasn't a drinker. Like I was telling the gentleman, I wasn't a drinker. I wasn't an alcoholic. I just drank to have a few beers and have some fun. I wasn't a smoker. I loved to train. I loved to exercise. I loved it. It was a good life. No, and there was no distinction between, except a few Southerners that didn't like Yankees. But that straightened out after a while.
Did the sergeants do most of the running of the company, or did the officers get involved?
The sergeants, they were like our father. You know what I'm saying? The officers gave the commands to the sergeants, and the sergeants controlled us. A few times, well, if we went on maneuvers, there'd be a lieutenant, a first lieutenant, and a second lieutenant, maybe a captain, maybe. But the sergeant be there, staff sergeant, first sergeant, master sergeant, they all were there. It was nice. No, it was a good army. Let me tell you, it was a real good army.
Was it this peacetime army before Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
Was it much different from the army you knew after Pearl Harbor?
No, because I was still with the same men.
Okay.
Even when I was discharged, even before I was discharged and in the hospitals in New Zealand, Tennessee, I was still with my men. We were all in the same boat together. We came back, who lost a leg, who lost an arm, who lost an eye. I remember one day we were washing in the morning, this guy takes his eye out to clean it. That's what happened. But we were all still back from there. We're still the same army.
So basically, you didn't get a lot of draftees into the outfit?
Not at all, no, not at all. We got a few draftees when they came to Hawaii to take over, like I say, and we shipped out to the islands. Naturally, we built up the company, we needed more men, and we had some draftees in then, but they were good, they went right in with us. It was okay, we got along well.
Now, what was Honolulu like before Pearl Harbor?
It was beautiful. You could go to town, you could have a drink. Well, we only went to town, we were getting $20 a month at the beginning. That's when I started, it was $20 a month with a Springfield rifle. That's all you had. And that $20 a month they took out for your haircut and they took out for your laundry. I mean, you didn't have much left. So we had one big day in Honolulu. We had a few bucks left. We went to Honolulu if the Navy wasn't in. If the Navy was there, we didn't go because they took over the town, because it's their time, you understand? Like I say, we went to town, we had a few drinks, a good meal, we met people. Matter of fact, I even met people that invited us to their house even. It was nice. Invited us for dinner and all. We got to know people, just like the Navy. They had a lot of friends that lived in town that they made friends throughout the years being there. And like I was telling that gentleman before, they never mentioned of what happened in Honolulu the night before. The night before Pearl Harbor, Saturday, December 6th, I decided to go to, I had a few bucks left, me and my two buddies, Nick and someone else, Virgilio. We went to town to have a little fun, you know? And when we got to town, I said, oh my God, what did I do? The Navy was in, all the fleet was there, you know, the Arizona, you name it. There was only one hotel, the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, like maybe 3 stories high, and that was booked for the weekend. Everything else, you had to fight your way to get a drink, you couldn't get a beer. I said to the guy, hey, what are we doing? What are we crazy? Let's go back to camp, because this is, you can't walk in the street, you know, it was packed, everything was packed, you had to fight your way out. So we decided to take the bus to go back to Schofield Barracks, which was a smart thing we did about 10 o'clock at night. It took us an hour before we got a bus anyway. And thank God that all those men that I'm telling you were in Honolulu celebrating that night, they all stayed in town, there would have been, I say, thousands more of casualties on them ships. Thank God for that, that those sailors were in town having a good time, because they would have never survived. There would have been thousands and thousands more of casualties, because I mean it was packed. It's something they never mentioned before. And plus, like I said before the war, they told us we're gonna be at war with Japan. They didn't say they're gonna bomb Pearl Harbor or this or that. They just said we are gonna have a war with Japan. And they started to give us fixed bayonets, camouflage stuff, and we were patrolling the whole island, 4-hour shifts on the truck to look at any kind of sabotage, anything you seen that shouldn't be there. We did that until they bombed Pearl Harbor. We were doing that. We knew that we were gonna have war. They told us, but they didn't mention where, when, and how. They never mentioned Pearl Harbor, but somebody knew something.
They were concerned about sabotage, though.
Yes, that's,
Did they tell you why they were concerned about sabotage?
because we were gonna have war with Japan, and Hawaii would be one of the first places they would wanna take, because if you conquer Hawaii, you're on your way to California.
Did anyone ever talk about a fear of sabotage because there were so many Japanese living on the island?
They didn't mention nothing like that at all. They just says, prepare yourself because we're gonna be at war with Japan. When, how, and when, they didn't. That's all they want. And that the rest of the stuff was, we were patrolling the island. But they didn't go any further than that. It wasn't much longer that they bombed us, though. This is only a couple of months maybe before it happened. And sure enough, it happened.
Did they tell you any particular kind of sabotage to look out for?
No, not at all. Just says we're gonna be at war with Japan. That was the words we got from the company commander.
So when you were riding around in the truck with the
We were-
bayonet and the rifle, what were
Yeah.
you looking for?
We were looking for anything that shouldn't be there, like any kind of weapons, any kind of positions that they're building, any kind of signals or directions going from the the pineapple fields facing that way or facing that way. We were looking for anything that looked suspicious, but we didn't see anything like that. They were very, 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 very. They're smart. They're smart. Japanese are smart. Oh yeah, don't let anybody kid you.
Do you remember after the attack hearing about any kinds of sabotage or fifth column or signaling?
No, after the attack, there was nothing to think about no more. It was just do. Position yourselves, fortify the island, and when we did it, like I say, it took us maybe 2 months or so, we fortified the island, they sent in troops, relieved us, we were shipped to all different islands, New Guinea, New Caledonia, Guadalcanal, Bougainville, oh, I can't think of all the name of them islands. Because our strategy was to keep pushing them back, not forward, like you play checkers. Our strategy was to keep moving them back. So we went from this island to that island. Iwo Jima, where the Marines took a terrible beating. Bougainville, New Guinea, New Hebrides, all these places, and we kept pushing them back. That was I did. No, keep them coming this way, keep them going that way. Just like checkers, and that's what we did. We had good leaders, good men, smart men. The only mistake they made, was a big mistake, was with Iwo Jima. They didn't realize how the Japanese were already set up there and how deep the water was. And when them Marines landed, oh, they took some beating. That's when they put up the flag, but believe me, they took a bad beating, a bad thing.
Let's go back to Pearl Harbor just before the war.
Yeah.
Was life in Honolulu much different from life on the mainland?
Oh, yeah, it was nice. It was beautiful climate, military, and the civilians, we didn't mingle too much with civilians. We made friends with people here and there, but we had to keep our distance, you know. Be careful of what you do, what you say, who you mingle with, you know. Because they didn't like us too much. See, the natives really didn't like us too much because they were jealous naturally that their women liked some of us. You know, a lot of fell in love with the natives there and whatnot, and even married some of them. But the natives, the Hawaiians didn't really dig that, you know. Not the Japanese, because we didn't bother with them. But the natives themselves, the Hawaiians, they really didn't care for us too much because, you know, when you take their woman, they don't like that. And we were human beings too, you know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of...
You were a haole, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And, okay, and When you went out on the town, where did you normally go?
Honolulu.
Yeah, what did you do in Honolulu?
What do? We had a few drinks, we had good dinners, we met people, we went and played tennis once in a while, whatever we could do. We went to Waikiki Beach, we laid on the beach. Well, I had pictures, I didn't take them, I had pictures I took on Waikiki Beach, which I tell you the truth, Jones Beach is even better than Waikiki Beach. It's beautiful, Jones Beach out now. It's a beautiful beach. You ever been there?
Sure.
Oh, is there? Oh, I go to all summer. It's beautiful. It's better than Waikiki Beach. Believe me, it's beautiful. And we used to go to the beach and do like everything else, like everybody else.
But the whole tempo, you know, the pace of life in the
Yeah.
Army
Yeah.
must have changed overnight after Pearl Harbor.
Oh, but after Pearl Harbor, there was no more life. It was just go. Matter of fact, everything was blackout. From the time they did it until the time we left Hawaii, to the time we got to the jungles, it was maybe over a year before we ever seen lights again, maybe longer than that, because there was nothing but blackout. Like I said, when we left Hawaii, it took us 23 days to cross the equator to get to the Solomon Islands. It took us 23 days because we changed course every 8 hours, so we wouldn't be a straight target. Then when we went to Guadalcanal, naturally, you couldn't smoke a cigarette at night. Oh no. When you was up there, our orders were, and before it got dark, we all dig foxholes. And it was two men in each foxhole. And our orders were, you don't move no matter what, which is true. You don't move. Anything that moves is the enemy. No matter what happens, don't move. And that's what we did. And you couldn't smoke naturally, and you couldn't cough. You couldn't go like that. If you cleared your throat at night, you went like that, you gave yourself away. You were gone. The next day when we got up, our throats were like a lump because we couldn't clear our throats. You better not clear your throat. If you did, you had to put your head in the ground and make sure you covered yourself to give out a cough. And it rained every night there. As a matter of fact, it was so bad that in the foxhole next to me, right there, the next foxhole, I forget his name, he panicked. He heard noise and he panicked. What does he do? He threw a grenade out, because that's what you're supposed to do, but not at night. He panicked and he heard a noise and he threw. The grenade hit the branch of the tree right above him. It fell in the foxhole. George Ferrara from California, I'll never forget, blew both of his hands off, shrapnel all over, it lost part of his leg, and they couldn't move him. The medics comes in the tent, with tent all over him, and gave him what he could hold off until the morning there, because you couldn't move him. That was it, it's nighttime. As soon as the dawn broke, they shipped him right out to the hospital, down to the hospital. They shipped him out and flew him out. I finally found out that he didn't die, but he lost, I have this picture home too, he lost 2 hands and his leg because this kid heard a noise and panicked and threw the grenade. Just the luck, it hit right at the top, fell right in there. And he didn't get a scratch, but the other guy lost all that.
Now, were grenades the preferred way to fight at night?
That's all you could fight with grenades, not at night. But even at night, if they were coming, you would have to use the rifle. Because their strategy was to fight at night, which is stupid. You can't see in the jungles anyway. Imagine at night. I mean, that was stupid of them. But our strategy was stay still and don't move, and we didn't. But anything you see that's coming in front of you, let them have it. That was it. That was our strategy.
Would you fire a rifle at night, or would you throw a grenade?
No, if it was combat, you use the rifle. If they come into your hole, because one of them was stupid enough to come at us, and you could see him because there was just enough light to spot him. And Pinsney, I still remember his name. They had the BAR. He opened up with the BAR. They didn't move. We stayed right where we were. That was our strategy, which was good. But it wasn't smart of the Japanese. They thought they could fight at night. I don't know why. Just like fighting with eyes closed. How are you going to fight somebody? But that was a good strategy. And we took them from Allentown and kept pushing them back until MacArthur went back to the Bataan. Of course, you know what the Japanese did there. That's why they all hate them. And everybody says, feel sorry for them. They didn't mean it. This, that. Don't ever believe that. Because what they did, we had prisoners. When I was in Tennessee, we had Italian prisoners and German prisoners. we treated them just like we were treated. We had dinner with them, lunch with them, we joked around with them, we treated them like human beings. Not the Japanese. You know what they did in Bataan? They made Wainwright march until they dropped dead. He became like a stone, like that, the man. Besides all the other soldiers. They raped the nuns, they raped the nurses, they raped the woman, they did everything. They were vicious. I don't care what anybody says, but I gotta tell it like it is. They were vicious. They were treacherous. They were bad. They were good fighters. They fought until you had to kill them to convince them, but they were vicious, very bad. And the story goes that anybody could tell you that was there. That's how they handled it. Even in Guadalcanal, the natives hated them. As soon as they got there, the first thing they did was interfere with their women. And the natives never forgot that. They had no respect for them.
I want to go back to Pearl Harbor in a moment, but since we're talking about Guadalcanal, let's talk about this a little further. Your division replaced the Marines.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what portion of Guadalcanal you were fighting on? Were you in the jungle by the river or up in the hills?
Oh, no. Up in the hills. There was nothing down below. Everything was up in the hills. Right in the jungles. Everything was, like I say, it took us over a day to get to the top of the hill. We don't call them mountains, we call them hills. And we had them by numbers. The hill we were on was Hill 27, I still remember. And it took us over a day to get to the top of that hill because there's mud coming down all night, you understand? Every night it rains and then down. Every night it rains and it's a mess. And you couldn't walk up. You had to crawl on your stomach. And you had for your pack, you had your web belt, you had a water, you had your rifle, you had your grenades. You weighed a ton. And you had to be in some shape to get. A lot of the guys couldn't make it. And we had the Fiji natives as leaders to show us how to get through that terrain. It was terrible, but we did it. But I was fortunate that I was always in good shape. I'm not bragging, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to impress you. Like I say, I was always a good athlete, and I was in good health and good strength, and I could do because I didn't smoke and I didn't drink. Luckily for me, that was in my favor. I was rewarded for that. But it was tough to get to the top of that hill.
Yeah, Hill 27.
Yes.
That was one of the hills near Henderson Field?
Well, not far from it. That was on the top of the hill, and then, from then, when you're on the top of the hill on level ground, it's all jungles. When I say jungles, I mean jungles, not like the woods here. You had to march one behind the other on your marching. If you made a right turn or left turn, you lost. Forget it. You were gone. You were going in different directions. You had to be right in front of one another because that's how thick it was. And like I say, they had the snipers on the trees that were in one position. The only way they could shoot at you if you were right in their line of fire, because if they moved this way or that way, as soon as you seen them leaves moving, that's where they were. You knew it. And they couldn't do it. They were in one position, and that's the only way they could hit you.
Yeah, what about artillery and mortar support?
We had artillery. We had field artillery and a coast artillery that knew we had an idea where they were, and they would blast away at that and clear the way for us best they could. And then from there, then we'd be told to advance. One day, on Hill 27 for 4 days. There was 2 Americans killed, and there was 2 Japanese bodies there that we couldn't get to. After 4 days, we finally got clearance that we could move, hopefully. And the Sergeant Reynolds, like it was, says to me, Castronovo, go up there and get the dog tags, because every man that was killed, whatever was wounded, you had to get his dog tag. You know he was deceased, right? I says, okay. I said, oh my God, better say a Hail Mary nice, because I was hoping they wouldn't still be there, because they were there for 4 days. They had us pinned down. We couldn't move. When I got up there, I had to get to the bodies after 4 days, and I don't want to tell you what a body is in the jungle after 4 days. I had to get their dog tags off, and there was 2 dead Japanese there, besides my two men from our regiment there. And then we kept going, and then they'd be bombing, and then we'd go, we'd get the okay. We had the Air Force dropping their bombs. It kept going on. It was just one day worse than the other.
So,
Matter of fact, I got right in here, right there, one of the Marines from the dead Japanese, they were keeping a diary. And it's interesting to read that diary, how they were going day by day. It was really interesting. And he had it translated into the American writing, and it was really interesting.
Now, so you use the artillery to clear the way?
Right.
You don't mean just get the Japanese out, you mean blow the jungle down too, don't you?
Well, yeah, but you cleared them out too because that pushed them back. They couldn't stay there because once that bomber come, they kept going back.
How did you know where to call the artillery in? I mean, you couldn't see anything in the jungle.
You couldn't see, but they knew approximately where they would be because they knew where we were and we knew where they were because sometimes you could even hear the voices. Because as a matter of fact, one day, I don't know what happened, the Japanese, where they had us pinned down, he was boop, 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 yelling at somebody like he was all excited, yelling, the guy was yelling. All of a sudden you heard boom. It was silence. Because if you were wounded or what, they didn't bother you. That was it. That was the end of you. You went away, out, and that was the end of it. We knew approximately where they were. And we had the motor guns. You know the motor guns, they shoot off that thing, but down the motor guns, they were terrific. They helped us a lot. And another thing they didn't know, what helped us wipe out the Japanese was that our ammunition was steel. Our grenades had 48 fragments, 48. And when they exploded, it was like a bomb. Thank God the Japanese didn't have the power of weapons that we had. Even their rifles, if they didn't hit you in a vital spot, you could survive. You understand? And their grenades were the same thing. If they didn't hit you just about where you were, you could survive. But our grenades was like a bomb. And when they went off, you were in trouble.
Did you ever come under fire with a Japanese knee mortar?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, knee mortar, yeah, I did, like I say. And if it didn't hit you exactly where you were, like if it hit you over there, you could survive because they didn't have the fragments that ours had, the power and the steel. Ours was steel. Theirs was the good stuff, thank God for that.
So our hand grenades were
Yes.
stronger than their
Oh,
knee mortars?
oh yes, oh, our hand grenades were more powerful. Oh yes, much more powerful. That's all we had to fight with. We had the BAR, which was a beautiful weapon in the jungles at that time, because we weren't prepared for jungle warfare. We had the BAR, we had the flamethrower, and we had the grenades and the rifles. That was it.
No Thompsons, no machine guns.
Oh yeah, we had machine, but you couldn't, no, we didn't have no machine guns because we didn't have time to position ourselves. We didn't stay there, we just kept moving. As we pushed them, we kept going more and more until that was the idea, to get rid of them, to clear out the island, and we did, but it took months. No machine gun. We didn't position ourselves, we just kept moving day to day. One time, like I said, we were trapped for 4 days, we couldn't move. They had us trapped for 4 days.
Did you ever capture any Japanese?
Oh yes, they captured, not me, but some of our outfits captured some of them and they took them where they should be. We didn't torture them or anything like that, no.
Did you ever wonder, why don't the Japanese just give up?
Because we found out that they don't believe in that. They believe in it's an honor to die for their country, most of them. I don't know what they feel inside, but that's why they had the bomb in Hiroshima. Because if they didn't do that, because the Japanese said we're not giving up. And that's when they went to President Truman and the generals and told him, look, if we don't go through with this atomic bomb, it's going to prolong the war, we're going to lose more millions of men, and they're also going to lose plenty too. They better give up.
But how did you personally feel? You're fighting against soldiers who won't surrender. You know that they're never going to give up. I mean, like the guys who fought against the Germans,
Yeah.
they knew they pushed the Germans
I
hard
could
enough.
answer that. You don't think, you just do. You know, everything was don't think, just do. And you're young. And you're young, you're gung-ho. You understand? What I'm thinking in my mind is, let's get this over with. I want to get out of here. When is it going to end? You just want to get out of there. So what you do, you don't think, you just follow orders. And the orders were, keep going. And you did. Oh my God.
Did you ever have, were you ever under fire from the Japanese warships that used to come down the slot every night and shell our position?
No, because that's when we had the Battle of the Solomon Islands, the big battle that really decided the war right then and there. Because they fought for 2 days, day and night, and we were up on the hills, and you could see all the traces going all night and day fighting. We destroyed their Navy. We took a beating too, well, we destroyed their Navy. That was the big turning point of the South Pacific in the Solomon Islands, and I saw every bit of it. All those shells going off, all those flames, so you could see all the flamethrowers, you know, not flamethrowers, all the traces, you could just see them back all night and all day. We destroyed their Navy, and that was a big, big battle.
Let me ask you this, though. You're watching all this from the hills.
On the hill at night, because we can't move.
Now, you had seen what the Japanese had done to our Navy at Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
Now you're watching the Japanese Navy and the American Navy, but you can't, all you can see is the traces.
That's all you could see.
Were you worried that maybe the Japanese Navy were going to cut out the American Navy so you would never be able to get off that island?
You want to think negative. I was hoping that we're good enough to beat them, because now we had a chance to beat them. It wasn't a sneak attack. It was our Navy against theirs, and I felt that we could destroy them, and we did, because that was different when they bombed the Pearl Harbor. We were sleeping. We didn't expect it, but now we were ready, and we were ready. We did our job, and we are the greatest, let me tell you.
So you never really worried that we might get cut off? You might have been cut off, you know?
Oh, no, we weren't cut off. We got all the results. We got all the results. But that's when the Japanese were landing troops. While that was going on, they were landing from the other side of the island, landing troops. And that's when we had to go in and get them out of there.
Right.
And that's when we kept going and going and going. Like I say, it took them 5 to 7 months before that.
Yeah. What about Japanese aerial bombardment? Did you ever hear Washing Machine Charlie?
Every night. I'm surprised you heard about that. That son of a gun made sure that we didn't sleep. Every night, this washing machine Charlie would come over, and you're in a foxhole, and you'd want to get some rest because you needed it. Because you're going all day, you're exhausted, and you can't sleep, and at night you want to get a couple hours sleep until you finally pass out. I remember one time when I was there, washing machine Charlie, somebody told you about that? That's right. Every night, that son of a gun, I don't know where he come from, but he came.
Why did they call him Washing Machine Charlie?
The plane sounded like a washing machine, that's why. Exactly, that's why they called the washing machine Charlie. But that son of a gun, I don't know where it come from, every night. And that was just trying to keep us on out there. You couldn't sleep until you finally passed out. I remember when I was up there for 4 days back then, we didn't sleep. But finally I remember, it just went out. That was it. I was dead because how much could you keep your eyes open? Although I was young and strong, but still. But washing machine Charlie never failed to be there at night. As a matter of fact, when I had malaria bad, they took us down from the hills, from downhill 27 up in the mountains. They took us down where we had the Red Cross, you know. You had the tents marked with the Red Cross. You're not supposed to bomb that. I was in the tent with intravenous in my arm, with 108 fever or more, shaking like a leaf with about 5 blankets on me. And the patrol come in about 5 o'clock. They sneaked in, 2 planes sneaked in, and I couldn't move. Everybody ran for shelter the way you're supposed to. I was stuck there with this in my arm, and I just says, I hope to God they missed me. And they dropped the bombs right where the Red Cross was, which they weren't supposed to do. But they did everything you're not supposed to do. You know, there's martial, there's certain things you don't do in war, no matter what, like bomb the Rome, the Academy, you know what I mean? You don't do that, but they did it. They did everything dirty that they could do. And believe me, I'm glad to tell that.
And tell me about, what did you eat when you were in the hills?
Well, what I ate, okay, I told you. I'll tell you what I ate. Being I love my food, what I ate, they had K rations, and there's nothing. I couldn't stand that. I love my vegetables. I got this one. Things were secured. At first, it was nothing but ration. I had a little ration. When we secured as much as we could, I made acquaintance with one of the natives. He was a hell of a nice person. He was so nice to call him my friend, and I could speak to him like I said. And whatever in the morning, what they do at night, they put out their big net for the fish to get all their fish. They go shopping in the morning. That's what the men do, the native men. They put out their big net at night, and in the morning they pull it in and get all their fish. Then they pick their vegetables, they pick their fruit, they put whatever is good to eat. And I said, hey, wait a minute. What you eat, I want to eat too because I knew it was good food. And that was why I needed some vitamins. I knew that. And I wasn't afraid to eat it. And I ate it. I ate their food, what they picked, I ate. And that helped me to go a long way. That's why I survived about 7 months before I finally got hit with malaria because I had the vitamins that I needed. I couldn't live on them rations. The other guys wouldn't go.
What about bugs, insects,
Oh,
snakes?
the malaria bug, that was the one. The other men said there was no animals there because with all the bombing, whatever was there, the mongoose, the snakes, they just took off. You didn't have to worry about snakes because there was nothing there. Because the bombing took care of that. They ran, they were smarter than us. They just disappeared. The only bugs you had was regular bugs, but the malaria bugs. That was the one that did the
Mosquitoes?
damage, yes. That's when I got malaria, from one of the malaria bugs.
What about hygiene in the field? How did you keep clean?
How to keep clean? Oh, whenever you came across one of these little, whatever you call it, little lakes or whatever it was, you jumped in there and bathed and cleaned yourself. That's how we did, day to day. We kept clean. We had to dig, to go to the bathroom, you had to dig a hole. There was no bathroom, naturally. And you cleaned yourself the best you could with some leaves or whatever. And whenever you came across a little lake, a little river, whatever it was, you jump in there and took a nice bath and you went on and on. That's how we survived. We survived better than ones you've seen on television, the survivors. We did better than them. We should have got the $1 million because we were under pressure. We were under fire. They had cameras were following them all around. You talk about them survivors, we survived the right way. And it's a joke when I see these things, believe me. Now with the movie coming out, I may go to see it because I'm curious to see if it's a movie or if it's just realistic.
You mean the
But
Pearl-
like you said, they say it's kind of realistic.
The Pearl Harbor movie?
Yes, it's coming out today, starting today.
Did you see Tora, Tora, Tora?
Yes, I seen it, and I didn't like it that much.
Okay, how about, why not?
The other one he was talking about, with Burt Lancaster, From Here to Eternity, that was good. That was like it was in Hawaii. That was a good
That
story.
was my next question.
Yes, that was good. But the Tora Tora Tora, I didn't dig that too much. I didn't like that too much. It was unreal. It wasn't the truth. But Pearl Harbor, I didn't see it yet. Okay.
All right. Anything else you want to add about Guadalcanal?
Well, I couldn't tell you any more than that. I think I told you quite a bit. How many men we lost and how the terrain was, how it rained, how it took us to get up to the hills, not mountains, hills, how we fought going in, how
Well, we had talked about some books and movies. Did you ever see the movie The Thin Red Line?
yes, I saw it.
What did you think of that?
It was pretty good, but it was a movie. It could have been better, but it was a movie. And like I saw it, From Here to Eternity, I saw Tora Tora, I saw. From Here to Eternity, I recommended it was good. Now I can see what this thing is all about.
You never saw any American soldiers disfiguring Japanese corpses, did you?
Did I watch it?
Any American soldiers pulling teeth out of Japanese corpses or
Well,
mangling the
they
bodies?
try to get all souvenirs if they could, you know. Some of them got some gold teeth, yes. I won't lie about that. But they were dead anyway, so there wasn't much. Some got whatever. Cause like I say, I wound up with that. I didn't believe in doing that. What I really wanted to get was one of the officers' bayonets. They had beautiful bayonets, but you had to be lucky to get one of them.
Samurai swords?
Yeah, they were beautiful. Oh, they were nice. I wasn't lucky enough to get one of them.
See, you needed to go down to see the Navy because they were making them on landing crafts in the shops. You got one cheap.
I know. That was one of the tricks, I know. But it was nice. It was great.
Did nobody worried about booby traps when they were looking for souvenirs? Japanese put, tripwires on the swords or...
No, the only thing, like I said, whatever, when we come across them, to the dead Japanese, if there was anything there that you could take, that you could use as a souvenir, but I'll be honest with you, I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get over. I wasn't looking for souvenirs. I was looking to get the hell out of there, get it over with. Just go, and let's get going and get this thing over with. That was my feeling. I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get it over with. I had enough. I wasn't really interested in souvenirs. Like I say, this only because one of the Marines gave me that. Why I took that.
What's that you're talking about?
No, it was in here. See, this is very interesting. You gotta have time to read it though. It was the Japanese keeping a diary every day how they were living and how they
Okay.
were. It was really interesting, and what they were eating, what they were saying about the Americans are coming and the Americans are this and Americans are that. It was very interesting, but it takes time to read something like that. But that souvenir I wanted. But I got it from one of the Marines because he had it translated into the American writing.
Frank, we're gonna stop here because we're gonna change tapes, and I wanna just come back to Pearl Harbor.
All right.
Okay. Tape 3, interview of Mr. Frank J. Castronovo on 25 May, Freeport Armory. Frank, we talked about Guadalcanal. Let's go back down to the early morning of 7 December 1941.
Right.
You were in Schofield Barracks.
Schofield Barracks, Company
Company
E, 35th Infantry.
35th Infantry, 25th Division.
Yes, 25th, because there was company, there was 35th Infantry, the 19th, 21st, and 27th. There were 4 infantries. They all had a different name, you know, the Chicks, the Blue Hounds, whatever it was, I can't even think all the names. We would, oh my God, the names are just going away from me, you know. I forget what they called us. I forgot what we were. I forgot anyway.
That's it, we got it back in the office.
Yeah, all right.
But you always, at that point, you went to 25th Division, though, you were still called the Hawaiian Division, weren't you?
No, I was in the 25th Division.
Okay, all right, so they'd already changed that to the name of the 25th Division.
That's right.
All right, we're gonna have to pause for a minute. Hang on.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Well, I'm back too. Good. Are we on again? Oh, well, good. All right, Frank, we were talking about Pearl Harbor, December 7th, early morning. You're in bed in the barracks. You got up early because you wanted breakfast.
Yes, I smelt that good breakfast.
Now, people have told me that it seemed to be unusually still that morning, like the world was paused or something.
Well, to be honest with you, Sunday morning, there's no activity really going on. And it usually is still like that. It is quiet. There was nothing suspicious about it because everybody was sleeping. Everybody was doing what they're gonna do, getting ready to go to mass, and the sailors were getting ready to go off ship and go play golf and tennis and have a picnic, whatever, or meet friends. Because on Sunday, what we used to do, we used to switch with it. The Navy used to come to us and have lunch with us. We would go on the ships, and we were invited on the ships to have lunch with them. It was very nice. It was really a beautiful day. Sundays was always that if there was no activity. If you're on maneuvers, that's different. You was up on maneuvers. But if you were in Honolulu or Schofield Barracks, everything was nice and quiet. And that morning, when I got up, 10 minutes late, there was a big clock. As soon as you open your eyes, you see that clock. Everything was nice and quiet. There was nothing suspicious about anything. But when I went upstairs, within them 5 minutes, the world just changed. Within them 5 minutes, when I was ready to take my shower and brush my teeth, I don't even remember if I got to do it. As a matter of fact, I don't think I had breakfast even because that was the end of everything. And then planes came right over. Like I say, they got lower and lower and closer and louder and louder. It wasn't one plane. It was like 4 abreast, I think. If I'm mistaken, there were 4 abreast coming right at us. And when I looked at the windows, I could look right up the pilot. I could see them glasses on them. Just like that. And they hit Wheeler Field. That was the first bombs they dropped. And I saw they hit Wheeler Field, blew up all the planes on the ground, the hangars, whatever they could hit, and they went right into Pearl Harbor and continued. Next wave and the next wave.
Let's slow down there for a minute, Frank. When you first heard the bombs going off, did you think it was like a drill or a mistake or somebody had screwed up or something?
No, not really. I knew right then and there when them planes were blowing up all over the place and the hangars flying all over. I knew, no, that's something. That was the Japanese.
Did any of the other guys in the barracks kind of act like they couldn't believe it or they couldn't accept what their eyes were telling them? Like you know, say, oh, the Navy must be having an exercise, or one idiot just dropped a bomb by accident?
No, I tell you why. Because like I say, they told us we're going to have war with Japan. And that was in our mind. And when this happened, the first thing I knew, I said, that's the Japanese. I was surprised, I was shocked. It was like somebody, you walk in the street and he walks, hey, Joe, how are you? Bang. You say, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You never expected it. But then you come out of it. And by the time we come out of it, we realize what we're into.
So you were on the third floor of the barracks?
I was on the first floor in the barracks. There was, no, or the second floor. I'm not sure. I was on the first floor, I think, in the barracks. But I was close to the kitchen, and I could smell the, like I say, the bacon and pancakes and coffee. And that was enough for me to get up. I said, no, I'm getting up. I could always go back and rest later. And that's what made me get up. As soon as I went upstairs, ready to take my shower, I had my toilet articles, my towel in my hand, brushed my teeth. That's when I heard the planes coming over. And it got louder and louder and closer and closer. And that's when we ran to the window. That was, everything happened right then and there. That was it.
Could you see them at that point? Were they close enough that you could see the pilots and the goggles?
Absolutely, absolutely. I swear it out on my life.
Did you see the
I could see the power. When I was in the quadrangle looking up at him, and I was using some profanity, looking at him, and I could see like he was smiling. You know what he did? Just the truth. He opened up with the machine. He figures I'll get everybody I can. That's when he sprayed it with the machine gun. And that's when I hit the ground and I started falling all over the place. Because like a fool, I was just standing there looking at him. I couldn't shoot at him because I had no ammunition. Like I say, my supply sergeant was in town. He was married. And we were stuck. We had no ammunition.
So at this point you were on like the balcony of the barracks?
No, I was right on the quadrangle, outside of the outside. You know, they call it the quadrangle because you had, it's this way in a circle, so if you're back. Company A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And so it was round. And I ran out of the building, right on the quadrangle, and looking up at him, just standing there like a dummy, standing there looking at him because I couldn't do nothing. Even if I could, what are you going to do with a rifle, really? I mean, these planes are coming over. You ain't got much, you know, you got to be pretty good to hit one of them. But at least we would have tried. Some of them did. Some did try that had ammunition, but we didn't.
So where did you go next?
What do I do next?
Yeah, you're looking at the plane shooting back at you.
When it was all over, then we ran inside because we got the alert call. We all ran inside, and we all got together, and that's when the sergeant finally come, and the captain was there and told us, well, this was going to happen. Get your full field pipes, get ready to ship out. Everything, boom, 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 everything was ready. Get your full field pipes, no dilly-dally, get ready, line up, and ready to take your positions. And that's what we did. We went to the beaches. Our coast artillery went up, the field artillery went up, the headquarters, and so on and so forth, went up. Everybody took position. The infantry were on the beach. That was our position, the beach.
After you got your gear, I imagine it didn't take you very long to get your gear.
Oh, no, not at all.
And then you got your rifle and you were issued ammunition.
Right,
And you got on the trucks.
right.
While you were moving on the trucks, did you get to see any of the destruction in Pearl Harbor?
Oh, yeah. Well, you couldn't see much because there was nothing but smoke. You know, from daytime, it looked like nighttime. There wasn't much to see. There was nothing but flame. You know, you bombed them ships. That was the Arizona was a big battleship besides the others. When you bombed them, they were nothing but oil burning. That's all it was. All you could see was flames and black smoke. The sky was full of smoke, black smoke. And explosions going off. You know, kept getting explosions going off. That's all you could see.
So when you're on the back of the truck right now, and you see this, what are you thinking about? What must be going on down there with the Navy? I mean, did you have any idea how bad it was?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, we know. You could see there were bodies all over the place.
How about any civilian casualties?
Oh, yeah, there was civilian casualties. Oh, yeah, sure. There was plenty of them, too.
Did you see any on the move out?
No, because all we heard was the ambulance. Our job was to get to the beaches and get to work. The next day, we started right away. They got the material, the equipment to start building, and we took positions right away without the barbed wire. Every, 100 feet machine gun position, because we figured they're coming right back. That was what we were told. That's what we expected them to come right back.
Okay. Frank, the first attack was at 7:55.
7:55.
And now another attack came at 8:30.
Whatever, I don't.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the time after that.
Do you remember seeing any more planes on the way out? I mean, you've been under attack at the barracks.
Right.
Okay. Did you see any more planes going in or hear any more attacks as you were moving out to the beaches?
Oh, yeah, there was more planes coming. I don't know how long, they just kept coming. I don't know where they got all the planes, but they kept coming. Oh, yeah, you could see them. But then it died down, then you didn't see it no more. Then it was all over. I don't know how long it was, how long it took. I don't want to make up stories. I don't know just how long it took for that, but I seen plenty of them.
Because now you're on the beach and your sergeants are telling you where to set up
Oh, yeah,
positions.
set up position, machine gun positions.
And did they give you good information in terms of like, this is gonna be where your sector is, and you're gonna defend from here to here, and that's where the next
Yeah.
position is?
Yeah, we had so many yards or square feet or whatever the position. You're positioned here, and this is where you perform, right here. 100 yards later, there was another position of men positioned there. And it just kept going along the beach with all the infantries. We lined up all along the beaches.
Did they give you any plans for what to do if you actually were attacked?
Well, they told us, if they're coming, what to do. You had the machine guns. That was your job, to stop them from landing.
Anything else like, if necessary, fall back to another position, or
No.
look for this signal?
No, we didn't get none of that. Because there was a lot of things to do that was in a hurry. Like I say, you weren't prepared. And everything you could do would think quick and react fast. That's what.
Did you have a feeling like your sergeants knew what they were doing, or everything was just too confused?
No, they were pretty good. They got together, they got their heads together pretty quick. I mean, the commanders, the sergeant, the majors, the colonel, whatever they did, they did very good. They really positioned us. I give them credit. They knew what they were doing. They weren't lost in the fog. They knew what they were doing. They did the right thing.
Yeah, at this point, you, and I imagine the rest of your fellow soldiers, really thought
Yeah.
that since the Japs had just hit the Navy,
Right.
they might be on the beach at any minute.
Well, that's what we thought, yes, absolutely. That's why we were on the beach before we barbed wire. But they didn't come right away, and which is good. It gave us time to get equipment and to start, we would start barbing wire, and we had men putting the barbed wire all along while we had our position with our machine guns.
When you were right there on the beach, first digging in,
Yes.
and Pearl Harbor is blowing up, and smoking behind you.
Right.
okay? And, waiting any minute to see Japanese landing craft come over the horizon. Did you feel like, oh my God, we're not prepared, and we're gonna get creamed?
No, I really didn't feel like, I just felt you have to react. I just didn't think about anything. I just think, what are we gonna do, and let's do it. That's the way my mind worked. I didn't start worrying, am I gonna get killed, am I gonna die, am I gonna come home? Thank God, I just put it out of my mind. I was afraid. Don't think I wasn't afraid. Oh, I was afraid in them jungles. Believe me, it was no joke. It was enough to scare the hell out of you.
Yeah.
It scared the hell out of me. I was scared, but I still did my duty. You understand?
Yeah, I do.
And that's the way I felt when they bombed us like that. What do we do now? I'm waiting for orders. I'm waiting for my leaders to tell us what to do. And they told us, and they encouraged us, and we did it.
Now let's move ahead. A couple of hours that night, the next morning, you're still on the beaches. Did you start to hear any rumors about they're coming around the point? Or?
Oh, yeah, no, because we heard there was planes that were lost.
Uh-huh.
There was planes. Matter of fact, one plane, our plane, as a matter of fact, was lost, and he landed in the dark. He landed near Schofield Barracks. It crashed. And there was a lot of noise going on yet, but we didn't know who or what. We were just hoping, let's see what happens at dawn. You know what I mean? Because now it's nighttime.
Do you hear anything about paratroopers landing?
No.
or saboteurs?
They didn't have time for that. See, they did a job, but they didn't follow through. Because let me tell you, if they followed through, they would have wiped us out. Because we had a peacetime army, and we didn't have all the equipment that we really needed, and we didn't have that many men. And if they would have come with a task force, followed through like they would have wiped us out. We could have held out maybe 2, 3, 4 days maybe, because they would have wiped us out. They were ready. They were powerful. Our Navy was crippled right there. We had to get everything together. We had to get planes. We had to get ships.
A couple of days later, you're still on the beaches.
Yes. Everything quieted down then.
But you start to hear about like Wake Island and...
Well, not right away. Later on, we start getting information. Troops landed on Wake Island, and some landed in New Guinea, and some landed in Bougainville, and all them islands. I can't think of all the names. We kept getting all the information of what's going on, though. Oh, yeah, we kept, little by little, even when we were on a ship, we were getting information that some troops went here, some troops went there, and what's happening. But we relaxed after it was all over, and when we were on our way on a ship to Guadalcanal, a lot of times you heard rumors. Then we crossed the equator, you had the initiation, you know, when you cross the equator, you cut your hair this way or that way, whatever it is, all that stuff. And somehow or another, our morale built up. But you didn't think, oh, am I gonna get killed? Am I gonna get shot? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna go home? You didn't have time for that. I put that out of my mind, thank God. I had a clear mind. I said, please, God, let us get through it. Whatever happens, but let's get it all over with. That's the way I felt. That was my philosophy. That's the way I felt about it.
Well, Frank, you've done some boxing?
Did I what?
You did some boxing in the service?
A lot of boxing, because like I told the gentleman there, I was in the Golden Gloves, I was in the amateurs, and I fought in pro, and I fought in Honolulu, because I liked it. That was my sport, instead of football or baseball. Now, my dream was, when I come out of the Army, I wasn't anything special. I just could hold myself. I was nothing special. But my dream was, when I come out of the Army, to turn pro and get a fight in the garden. I just wanted to say I fought in Madison Square Garden. That was my dream. Win, lose, or draw, even one fight, I just wanted to fight, put my feet in the garden. But it never happened, because the war broke out. When I got out, I was almost 25 years old. I got married, I had a lot of responsibilities, so that was the end of my dream. But that was my dream, not that I was anything special. I could hold my own, but that was it. You know what I'm saying?
The malaria must have taken
Oh,
a toll
yeah,
on you,
yeah.
too.
Well, but I built up after that. Of course, when I first come out, I was, you know, it took time to build up. But that was my dream anyway, but it never happened.
Frank, we're going to give you the last word here. So, is there anything that you want to add or talk about?
I think I told you quite a bit. You're probably tired of hearing me talk.
No, not at all. You
I
think
told you.
that your experiences changed your life?
My wife?
Your experiences, they changed your life in any way?
Well, it made a man out of me, that's for sure. I became a good family man, because I had my experience in life. I knew what life, from being a kid out of the Bronx, I became a man to see what happened, what life is all about. The people I met, the things I've seen, the people I lost, and it was a great experience. No, it really made a man out of me. I grew up overnight, that was it.
All right.
I became a good family man.
Anything else you want to add?
That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.